The cold emptiness of space echoed with the distant hum of the massive alien warships, as the Galactic Council's fleet loomed over Earth. The Council was a vast coalition of the most powerful alien species in the galaxy, and they had never known defeat. Now, they were coming for Earth, not to negotiate, not to conquer in the traditional sense, but to make an example of humanity. Their plan was simple yet terrifying: to deploy the Nebula of Obedience, a mind-altering cloud capable of stripping humans of their free will, turning them into nothing more than slaves, obedient to the Galactic Council's every whim. Commander Alex, the leader of Earth's military forces, stood at the helm of humanity's last line of defense. His face was grim as he looked out from the bridge of the command ship. His team, a mix of soldiers, scientists, and engineers, had fought tirelessly to prepare for the inevitable. They had known that the aliens would one day come, but this, their fleet, their ultimate weapon, was something even they had not expected. "Ready the defenses," Alex ordered, his voice calm but laced with a hint of worry. He had always been the optimist, the one who believed humanity could overcome any obstacle. But this was different. The humans had fought against space invaders, robots, and even entire alien armies, but this nebula? It was a weapon of a scale they had never faced. As the alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere, a shadow fell across the planet. The nebula began to spread, its presence terrifying. It was an unnatural fog, glowing with swirling violet and black clouds, spreading quickly over the planet's surface. The human forces rushed into position, scrambling to deploy every defense they could. Satellites, laser turrets, and electromagnetic shields were activated, trying in vain to fend off the cloud that was descending from the alien fleet above. Alex's eyes were glued to the massive screens in front of him. On one screen, the alien warships moved slowly across the sky, dark and menacing. On another, Earth's last defense fleet, a group of warships, hastily assembled in the past months, was preparing to make their stand. The ships were far outmatched by the alien forces, but they had one thing the aliens did not: human determination. The nebula started to descend faster now, its influence creeping closer to Earth. And then, it began. Soldiers, commanders, and civilians all over the world started to feel its effects. Their thoughts clouded, their minds growing heavy as the nebula reached them. It was a powerful thing, this mind-altering mist that could erase memories and strip away the very essence of one's identity. As it spread, humans began to fall into a trance, their eyes glazing over as they became nothing more than pawns under the Council's control. But, just as the humans began to falter, something strange happened. Across the globe, some humans were resisting. A flicker of consciousness remained in them, a force they could not explain. It was like a spark in the darkness, something deep within their minds that refused to be smothered. And at the heart of it, Commander Alex, and his elite squad, remained fully aware, unaffected by the cloud of submission sweeping over the planet. "What is this?" Alex muttered to himself, staring at the screen in disbelief. His fingers trembled slightly as he adjusted the dials and watched the data flood in. Humans were resisting. The aliens' greatest weapon was failing. The Nebula of Obedience was not working as intended. Commander Alex turned to his team, his face painted with both confusion and newfound hope. "This is our chance," he said, determination rising in his voice. "They thought they could break us. They thought we would fall. Let's prove them wrong." His team rallied behind him. The humans had been caught off guard, yes, but they were not helpless. Human willpower was more powerful than any mind-altering weapon, and it was this, more than technology or firepower, that was keeping them standing. As Alex stood there, watching the screens, a plan began to form in his mind. The Council was underestimating Earth's greatest strength, the sheer will of its people. If they could resist the nebula, maybe, just maybe, they could fight back. The shock of resistance was enough to force the Galactic Council into action. They had never encountered anything like this before. In their cold, calculating minds, there was no possible way for any species to resist the Nebula of Obedience. It was an inevitable tool of control, perfected over millennia, and it was supposed to be foolproof. Yet, here were humans, an inferior species by their standards, standing their ground. Immediately, the Council responded with a furious escalation. Alien warships, far more advanced than anything humans had, surged forward. The massive AI-controlled warships, with their impenetrable shields and laser weapons, began firing at Earth's defenses. Thousands of robotic soldiers, made of pure metal and programmed for complete obedience, were dispatched to land and seize control of Earth's cities. The first wave was devastating. Robotic soldiers descended in a storm of steel and sparks, gunning down any human who dared to resist. The air filled with the sound of lasers and explosions as cities burned, but still, humanity held firm. In a world where it seemed that the enemy's technology was superior in every way, the human forces were determined to put up the fight of their lives. Alex, commanding from the front, issued a flurry of orders. Don't fall back. Keep pushing them. He and his team led counterattacks, using guerrilla tactics to pick off enemy forces one by one. The humans did not have the advanced technology or weapons of their alien foes, but they had something more: their unity, their adaptability, and their willingness to sacrifice everything to protect their home. Meanwhile, back on the command ship, Alex watched as the alien warships advanced, their sleek metallic bodies cutting through the atmosphere. Their advanced cloaking technology made them nearly impossible to detect, but the human fleet fought on, firing blind shots into the vast emptiness above. The odds were against them, but hope was something no one could take away. Every few minutes, the status screens flashed red with updates about casualties and enemy positions. There were losses, too many losses, but Alex refused to give in. Earth's defense forces were running low on resources, and morale was starting to falter. But in the midst of this chaos, something unexpected happened. The Nebula, which had already taken control of many of Earth's cities, began to falter. For a brief moment, it seemed as though the Nebula itself was struggling. Instead of fully controlling humanity, it was facing a stubborn resistance. What was happening? Why weren't humans obeying like they should? The Galactic Council was blindsided. They had made an error, they had underestimated humanity. The humans' willpower was stronger than they had ever anticipated. The Nebula that should have crushed their resistance, that should have forced them into submission, was failing. And at that moment, the humans realized something profound: they could win. As Alex looked over the battlefield, a feeling of fierce determination surged in his chest. He knew that the Council had made a grave mistake. This battle was far from over. The odds were still against them, but Earth had one thing that no other alien species had ever accounted for: the human spirit. And as the Nebula continued to swirl above, its effects weakening, humanity's counterattack had already begun. The Nebula of Obedience was the Galactic Council's most formidable weapon, mind-altering cloud capable of altering the very core of a species' willpower. Its power was simple but devastating. As it spread across planets, it infiltrated every mind it touched, slowly eroding free will, replacing it with blind obedience to the Council. It could manipulate thoughts, emotions, and even memories. Those who fell under its influence became mindless drones, nothing more than puppets with strings pulled by alien hands. As the Nebula descended upon Earth, the entire planet felt its crushing weight. The first waves of humans who encountered the mist stumbled and fell. Their minds clouded over, their resistance fading. Across cities and battlefields, soldiers and civilians alike began to collapse into a state of hypnotic trance, their wills no longer their own. It was a terrifying sight. A person's mind was the last sanctuary, and the Nebula was invading that sanctuary with merciless precision. Yet, amid this growing wave of submission, there was a glimmer of hope. Commander Alex and his elite group of soldiers remained standing strong, unaffected by the Nebula's insidious grasp. Alex had always been known for his resolve. He had led Earth's forces through countless battles, and his strength of will had always been his greatest weapon. But the nebula was different. It was unlike anything he had ever encountered. Even as it spread across the globe, taking more and more of his people, Alex and his team resisted. They were humanity's last line of defense. But even as Alex held firm, the toll on his forces became clear. The battlefield was no longer just about strategy and technology. It had become a battle of wills, a fight against an enemy that could invade the very core of a person's being. And the nebula was slowly winning. As Alex and his team fought to hold off the alien invaders, the consequences of the nebula's power began to hit closer to home. Lieutenant Mia, Alex's best friend and trusted comrade, had always been a bright light on the battlefield. Her quick thinking and fierce loyalty made her an invaluable part of his team. But as the nebula crept closer to their position, Alex saw something he had feared: Mia was starting to weaken. Her movements slowed, her eyes glazed over as if she were fighting to stay conscious. Then, in the chaos of battle, Mia was captured by one of the alien warships. Alex's heart sank as he watched helplessly. Mia had been his partner for years, and the thought of losing her to the nebula's influence was unbearable. She had always been the person who pushed him to fight harder, to stand firm in the face of impossible odds. But now, she was no longer herself. She was under the control of the Council, and there was nothing Alex could do to save her, at least, not yet. The emotional weight of the situation hit Alex hard. It was one thing to fight for survival, but to fight against a force that could take his loved ones and turn them into enemies was something far worse. Alex had always known that war came with sacrifice, but this was personal. Mia had been more than a soldier, she was his friend, his confidant. Now, she was lost to him, a puppet of the alien invaders. But Alex's mission was clear: he could not afford to lose hope. As much as the loss of Mia tore at him, he had to push forward for the greater good. He had to be the leader that humanity needed. The fight for Earth was not just about winning a war, it was about preserving the very essence of humanity. And that meant not giving in to despair, no matter how much it hurt. With the loss of Mia weighing heavily on his heart, Alex knew he could not afford to waste time mourning. The aliens had brought their full force to Earth, and humanity's survival was hanging by a thread. But humanity had something the Galactic Council had never anticipated: ingenuity and a fierce will to survive. Alex's team rallied for a counterattack, launching humanity's first strike against the alien forces. The human fleet was outgunned and outmatched, but they were not fighting just for victory, they were fighting for their very survival. As the cloaking devices activated, Alex's warships became invisible to the alien sensors. The human forces used the element of surprise, launching sudden attacks on the alien fleet from unexpected angles. Laser beams cut through the darkness of space as humans fought tooth and nail to protect their home. The tension in the air was palpable as the orbital bombardments began. Alex watched through the viewport of his command ship as massive explosions rocked the alien fleet. His heart raced with every blast, but there was no time to celebrate. The alien warships were too advanced, their shields impervious to most human attacks. Yet, the humans had one advantage the Council had never anticipated: human adaptability. As the battle raged in space, ground combat intensified. Alien soldiers, enhanced by their advanced technology, were pouring into Earth's cities, attacking with ruthless efficiency. They were faster, stronger, and better equipped than the humans, but the humans had something the aliens didn't: heart. In hand-to-hand combat, human soldiers fought with raw emotion, using whatever they could to stay alive. Alex's team led the charge, cutting through the enemy ranks with brutal force. Melee combat raged in the streets, with soldiers throwing themselves into the fray to protect civilians. Through the chaos, Alex's mind remained focused on the goal: to push back the invaders, to protect Earth at all costs. The human forces fought tooth and nail, their weaponry and technology barely a match for the alien forces, but their resolve was unmatched. They fought in every building, every alleyway, turning Earth's cities into battlegrounds. The alien robots, towering and heavily armed, clashed against the human forces with a fury of their own. Yet, the humans refused to back down. Alex, Mia's former team leader, was everywhere on the battlefield, leading his soldiers into battle, even as he watched others fall under the alien onslaught. His heart burned with the desire for vengeance, for Mia, for the fallen, and for Earth. Fast-paced laser fire lit up the skies, as both human and alien forces fired at each other from every angle. The human soldiers, though vastly outmatched in technology, fought with every ounce of strength they had. The battle was relentless, a constant push and pull of life and death, of desperation and determination. Meanwhile, the alien AI-controlled soldiers were methodical and unrelenting. They moved with precision, following commands without question, but even they began to show signs of wear. The humans were pushing them to the limit. In one scene, Alex himself engaged in close combat with one of the robotic soldiers, using his laser blade to slash through the metal beast. The combat was intense, the sound of metal on metal ringing through the air. In the chaos, Alex saw a glimmer of hope. Humanity was not going to let itself be defeated. Despite the overwhelming odds, they were holding their ground. They were winning small victories, fighting back inch by inch. The alien invaders had underestimated humanity's resilience, and now they were beginning to realize just how costly that mistake was. The Galactic Council had been so sure of their victory. For centuries, they had crushed weaker civilizations, leaving no resistance in their wake. Their technology, their war fleets, their AI-driven soldiers, all of it had been carefully designed to guarantee swift domination. They had believed that Earth, with its primitive technology and limited resources, would be just another easy conquest. But as the nebula of obedience spread across Earth's surface, they quickly realized that they had vastly underestimated the human spirit. The nebula was supposed to be the final blow, a surefire way to subdue the human race. But as its mist blanketed the planet, the humans began to fight back in ways the Council could not have foreseen. The soldiers, civilians, and even children struggled with every ounce of their strength to resist the pull of the nebula. And where the nebula failed to subdue them, their unity and fierce will to protect their home kicked in. The Council's expectations started to crumble. On the battlefront, the humans were a force to be reckoned with. They used every available tactic to outsmart and overpower the alien fleet. Their cloaking devices, which allowed them to strike at unexpected moments, gave them an advantage over the far superior alien ships. As Alex led his team through the chaotic skies, they launched surgical strikes against the Council's warships, knocking them out one by one. With every destroyed ship, the humans sent a powerful message: they would not fall easily. The Galactic Council had expected total domination, but now they were witnessing something they had never anticipated: resistance, and it was far stronger than they had anticipated. Despite the overwhelming odds, the humans' determination to defend their world grew stronger with each battle. They knew the stakes. They were fighting not just for their survival, but for the very essence of their freedom. The nebula of obedience might have been a powerful tool, but humanity's willpower was something no alien force, no matter how advanced, could ever truly conquer. The humans' resilience was now their greatest weapon. While the alien fleet boasted unimaginable firepower, AI-controlled warships, and fleets of robot soldiers that were virtually indestructible, the humans fought with an unmatched determination. Every human soldier, every civilian, had a reason to fight: family, home, country. It was a fight for everything they loved. Using their advanced cloaking devices, human warships darted through the vastness of space like ghosts. The aliens couldn't track them, couldn't anticipate their next move. The human forces used these devices to their advantage, launching surprise attacks on alien ships, disabling their weapons and shields in precise strikes. The alien fleet was technologically superior, but the humans' tactics were unpredictable. With every strike, their odds seemed to improve. The first significant breakthrough came when a human ship appeared out of nowhere right in the midst of an alien formation. The alien ships were caught off guard. Laser cannons erupted from the cloaked ship, and missiles tore through the hulls of the alien warships, one after another. The humans had found their rhythm. Despite the massive technological gap, they were proving that it wasn't just about weapons or ships, it was about the human spirit. The AI-controlled warships that the Council relied on for their tactical advantage were precise and powerful, but they lacked one key element: creativity. They followed orders without question, executing predefined strategies with flawless efficiency. But humans? Humans had intuition, the ability to adapt on the fly. They could adjust their tactics in the middle of a battle, using their surroundings, their instincts, and their teamwork to counter the alien forces in ways the AI couldn't anticipate. Alex's team continued to take down the alien warships with surprising speed. They weren't just relying on advanced weaponry, they were using their ingenuity, their ability to think outside the box. They would fly into tight formations, using the space debris around Earth to hide and ambush the alien fleet. Their advanced cloaking tech, combined with their resourcefulness, turned the tide of the battle. The alien fleet was beginning to lose its footing. However, it was not just technology that was keeping the humans going, it was their heart, their determination. The battle was not just a fight for survival. It was a fight for their home, for the very core of what it meant to be human. And the Galactic Council could not understand that. They had never faced an enemy like this before. As the battle raged on, the human forces were winning small victories, but the cost was becoming more apparent. The Nebula of Obedience was still sweeping across Earth, and many of the human soldiers were falling under its control. Those who resisted became more and more rare. But even as the human forces began to lose ground on the ground, they gained something that the Council could never have anticipated: a fire, an unquenchable rage that spurred them on. In the middle of the fierce space battle, Alex and his team received news that would change everything. Lieutenant Mia, the woman who had been his best friend for years, who had fought by his side through every battle, had made the ultimate sacrifice. While the human forces were regrouping for another strike, Mia had found a way to infiltrate one of the most heavily guarded alien ships. She had one mission: take down a key alien leader who was orchestrating the Nebula's spread. She succeeded, but at a great cost. Mia died in the process. The news hit Alex like a punch to the gut. His heart broke for his fallen friend. He had watched her grow from a fellow soldier into a sister. She had always been there, her spirit unbreakable, a force of nature in her own right. Now, she was gone. And with her death, the anger, the sadness, and the human spirit all came crashing together. Alex felt an overwhelming surge of emotions: grief, rage, and an insatiable desire for revenge. But in that moment, he knew what he had to do. Mia's sacrifice would not be in vain. The humans would not only survive, they would win. Her death had ignited a fire in Alex, and now that fire was spreading throughout the human forces. The battle was no longer just about victory. It was about honoring Mia's sacrifice, about making sure that her death would lead to something greater. The loss of Mia became the emotional core of the fight. It became the fuel that propelled Alex and his team to greater heights. They fought harder than ever, pushing back against the alien forces with a vengeance. The alien forces, despite their superior technology, were no match for the humans' fury. And the Council realized, too late, that they had underestimated the most powerful force in the universe: the human will to survive. The battle for Earth had reached its boiling point. The Galactic Council's forces had pushed the human military to the brink of defeat, and the Nebula of Obedience was spreading further across the planet. The situation was dire. But Commander Alex knew this was not the end. Humanity still had a chance. With everything on the line, Alex gathered his team for a final, daring mission: infiltrate the alien flagship and destroy the Nebula's control system, the key to breaking the Council's hold over Earth. The alien flagship was an enormous vessel, bristling with weapons and protected by layers of AI-controlled defense systems. It was a fortress in space. For the humans, it seemed nearly impossible to penetrate. Yet Alex and his team had no other choice. They had to take the fight to the heart of the alien forces. With the stakes higher than ever, Alex prepared his team for what would be their most dangerous mission yet. They would board the flagship undetected, make their way to the Nebula control center, and plant a device that could disable the entire Nebula system. This mission wasn't just a tactical strike, it was humanity's last hope. If they failed, Earth would fall. As they boarded their ship and flew toward the flagship, the tension in the air was palpable. The soldiers knew the odds were slim, but their determination burned brighter than ever. They were fighting not just for survival, but for the freedom of every human on Earth. Mia's sacrifice, and all the other lives lost, gave them the strength to carry on. Once inside the flagship, the team split into smaller units to secure their objective. The hallways of the alien ship were eerily quiet, the only sounds being the humming of alien machinery and the occasional footsteps of patrolling soldiers. The crew had to move quickly but cautiously, one wrong step, and they'd be discovered. Close-quarters combat was inevitable. As they progressed deeper into the flagship, the team encountered alien soldiers and AI drones patrolling the halls. The aliens fought with precision and strength, but the humans were fueled by something greater, their unbreakable will to protect their home. The action was fast-paced, with blasters firing, grenades exploding, and alien soldiers falling in hand-to-hand combat. Alex led his team through the chaos with precision, each step bringing them closer to their goal. The atmosphere inside the alien ship was intense, filled with neon lights that flickered ominously as the group advanced. The dark corridors seemed to stretch on forever, each turn bringing them into closer danger. At times, the walls hummed with the power of the alien technology that kept the ship running smoothly, while at other moments, the lights would flash and explosions would rattle the ship as battles raged outside. The tension was palpable, and every step felt like it might be their last. As Alex and his team moved through the ship, they encountered narrow hallways lit only by glowing red lights. The ship's architecture was nothing like anything the humans had seen before, sharp angles, metallic surfaces, and a cold, sterile design. The team had to be quick and stealthy, darting between shadows and using their advanced tech to disable security systems. It felt like they were walking through a living nightmare, a fortress designed to overwhelm them at every turn. The pace of the mission quickened as they got closer to their target. Suddenly, the walls shook as another explosion echoed through the ship. The alien defenses had detected their presence. They were no longer operating in silence. AI drones descended from the ceiling, while alien soldiers appeared from hidden doors, their weapons raised. The humans didn't hesitate. Blasters fired, and grenades exploded in the faces of the enemy soldiers. The hum of energy weapons filled the air, and the unmistakable sound of hand-to-hand combat rang out as humans fought back with everything they had. The team moved swiftly, relying on their experience and teamwork to defeat the alien forces. Alex's leadership was key. He directed each member of his team with precision, making sure no one was left behind. Despite the overwhelming odds, their courage was unwavering. Human determination was their greatest weapon. Just as it seemed like the humans were running out of time, they reached their destination, the Nebula control room. The walls were covered in alien technology, humming with power, and in the center of the room stood the control system, a massive structure of metal and energy. It was the heart of the Nebula's power, and destroying it would sever the connection between the Nebula and the alien fleet. But before they could even begin their plan, disaster struck. The alien forces had anticipated this move, and they had set a trap. A squad of elite alien soldiers and AI units ambushed the humans just as they approached the control system. The battle intensified. The humans fought back fiercely, but the odds were stacked against them. The alien fleet was relentless, and the AI soldiers seemed unstoppable. As the battle raged, Alex and his team struggled to reach the control system. With every step forward, the aliens pushed back, their superior strength and technology making them difficult to overcome. It seemed as if the humans were on the verge of being overwhelmed. Then, in a desperate act of defiance, Alex made the decision that would change everything. With the enemy closing in and his team members injured, he activated the countermeasure they had brought along. The device, a small but powerful piece of human technology, was designed to disrupt the Nebula's control system. Alex knew it was their only chance. The moment he deployed the device, the ship shook as a powerful shockwave ripped through the room. The alien soldiers froze, their control over the Nebula severed. The Nebula, which had once been a tool of total domination, started to fade, its influence over the human mind dissipating. For the first time in hours, the humans felt free. The alien fleet was now cut off from the Nebula, and their forces began to retreat. Alex and his team stood victorious, battered but unbroken. The alien flagship, once a symbol of the Galactic Council's power, was now a shadow of its former self. The humans had done the impossible, they had not only survived, but they had struck back against an overwhelming enemy. The Council, once so certain of their victory, was now in full retreat. The Nebula, their greatest weapon, had been destroyed, and their hold over Earth was slipping away. The human spirit, their will to fight, had proven stronger than the Galactic Council's advanced technology. In that moment, the battle for Earth was finally over. But the cost had been high. Mia's sacrifice had not been in vain, and her memory would live on as a symbol of human perseverance. The battle for Earth had been long, brutal, and filled with sacrifice. Yet, against all odds, humanity emerged victorious. The alien forces that had once seemed invincible were now in full retreat, and the Nebula of Obedience, the mind-altering weapon that had given the Galactic Council its power, was gone. The sky above Earth, once darkened by the alien force, now began to clear, offering a glimpse of hope and freedom. For humanity, it was a triumph of willpower over technology, a moment of celebration that would forever be etched in history. The humans had done what many thought was impossible, they had fought off a technologically superior enemy and destroyed the Nebula. The alien fleet was in retreat, and the Council's plans for domination had been shattered. Alex and his team stood among the survivors, their faces weary but filled with pride. They had not only defended Earth, but they had proven that humanity's spirit was more powerful than anything the Galactic Council could throw at them. However, despite the victory, the cost was high. Many brave men and women had given their lives in the fight, and the pain of their sacrifice would never be forgotten. Lieutenant Mia, Alex's best friend, had sacrificed herself to strike a decisive blow against the aliens, and her death weighed heavily on Alex's heart. Her courage had inspired them all, but it had come at a terrible price. The loss of so many soldiers, each one a hero in their own right, was a painful reminder that even the greatest victories come with heavy costs. As the alien fleet retreated, there was no celebration in the streets of Earth, only a quiet, somber sense of relief. Humanity had won the battle, but the war had taken a toll. The tears of victory were mingled with the grief of loss, and as the sunset rose over the battered Earth, it cast long shadows over the survivors. The damage caused by the war, broken cities, burned landscapes, and countless graves, was a stark reminder that war is never clean, and the price of freedom is always high. But even as the humans began to rebuild, they could not forget the enemy that still lingered in the galaxy. Though Earth had won this battle, the Galactic Council was not one to accept defeat easily. The Council's leadership, humiliated by their failure to conquer Earth, was already planning their next move. They had underestimated humanity, and now their pride had been shattered. The Council would not forget this loss, it was just the beginning of a new chapter in the war for Earth's survival. Days after the victory, the Galactic Council issued a final warning to humanity. Through the remains of their shattered communications network, a transmission was sent out to Earth. The message was chilling. The Council's voice echoed through the broadcast, its tone cold and filled with venom. They were not finished. This victory, they declared, was nothing more than a temporary setback. The humiliation they had suffered would not be forgotten, and the war for Earth's survival was far from over. "We will not rest until humanity is brought to its knees," the message proclaimed. "This victory of yours is fleeting, and we will return stronger than ever. Your planet is not safe. The true fight begins now." The transmission ended with a final threat, an image of the Council's flagship, still looming somewhere in the galaxy, waiting to strike again. Alex watched the transmission with a heavy heart, knowing that humanity's respite was short-lived. The Council was regrouping, and they would return with even more devastating force. Earth's victory had shown that humanity could stand against the Galactic Council, but it had also made them a target. The Council would not forget this defeat, and they would come back stronger. The human leaders gathered to discuss their next steps, knowing that the future of Earth was uncertain. The alien forces may have retreated for now, but it was clear that this was just the beginning. Earth's defenses had proven formidable, but the Council was a vast and powerful organization. It would take everything humanity had to survive what was to come. As the days passed, Earth began the process of recovery. Cities were rebuilt, and families reunited. The human spirit had been tested like never before, but it had proven resilient. The human race had faced the unimaginable, had battled against a technologically superior foe, and had emerged victorious. But Alex knew that the true fight was still ahead. This victory, no matter how significant, was just the first chapter in an ongoing story. Standing on the balcony of the newly rebuilt command center, Alex gazed out over the horizon. The sky, once darkened by the influence of the nebula, was now clear. The sunset painted the sky with shades of orange and purple, a beautiful yet bittersweet scene. Humanity had survived, but the Galactic Council was still out there, lurking in the far reaches of the galaxy. Earth's victory was a symbol of strength, but Alex knew it was not the end. As the last of the nebula dissipated in the sky, revealing the vastness of space, Alex felt a chill run down his spine. The war was far from over. The Council would not forget their defeat, and they would return with a vengeance. The peace humanity had fought for would be fleeting, and the future was uncertain. Alex turned away from the view, his face set with determination. The battle for Earth had been won, but the war for humanity's survival was still to come. The peace they now had was temporary, and the struggle for freedom would continue. Earth had shown the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. They had proven that no matter how overwhelming the odds, humanity would never back down. They would stand together, fight together, and defend their home. The Galactic Council had learned that lesson the hard way, but it was just the beginning. As Alex prepared for the next battle, he realized something fundamental about humanity. It wasn't just their technological prowess or their military strength that made them formidable, it was their willpower, their refusal to give up, and their unwavering spirit in the face of adversity. This was the true strength of humanity. The war against the Galactic Council was far from over, but Alex and his team had proven one thing: humanity would never surrender. The fight for Earth's survival would continue, but this time, humanity would face it with a newfound strength. As Earth's people watched the final remnants of the nebula fade away, they knew the battle was not over. The Galactic Council would return, but they had underestimated humanity. Earth had shown the universe that it was not a place to be conquered. It was a world of warriors, a world where humans would fight to the end. And with that, the next chapter in humanity's fight for survival began.